people that we need to acknowledge. So, but get yourself a good Southern gardening encyclopedia. I think my friend Ira Wallace is going to be doing a book on Southern gardening soon. Southern Living has done a lot of good things like that. So I mean, just kind of like build your resource book. They're going to say the same thing after a certain point. But the bottom line is that in terms of cultural history, cookbooks are another good way to go back. Notice how I use historic cookbooks to kind of like walk backwards from that and sort of like divulge what plants. And they cook, these historic cookbook writers are writing for the first generation of women who aren't solely doing domestic work. So they need these kind of hints and tips of how to live their, construct their lives. And so they'll say things like, don't use the sweet potato, use the lovely Bermuda sweet potato because the yellow ones aren't as good. Now, you may not agree with that on your palate, but at least it gives you an incredible hint into what that person's growing and doing. Yes, sir?
What about fruit? So something that I don't think you talked much about. Any like local fruit varieties, trees, or anything like that? And also, maybe related to that, any brewing or liquor.
You know what my personal favorite is? Persimmons.
Yeah.
Wild persimmons. I know every wild persimmon from here to the borders of Baltimore. I kid you not, because in the wintertime, I have someone in the room who knows I would be crazy to stop in the middle of a highway and say, get out! I gotta get these persimmons now. And, shake them with the tree. And persimmons are interesting because they are a native plant that has a cross-ethnic residence. What I mean by that in layman's terms is that persimmon, Diosporus virginiana, is the North American version of a huge family across the world of Diosporus. Basically, it's called the food of the gods, right? Out of Greek. And in West Africa, there is a very similar tree, and I've written and published on this, thank God, before anyone else did it. Diosporus mesopiliformis, which is the African version. It's not called persimmon of it, it's called the ebony tree. Because Ebonaceae is the same family, right? The fruit is almost exactly the same. And so what I do every year is I take the persimmons, I freeze them when I'm not going to get to them anytime soon, and also, if they're not really fully ripe, but you're getting like the little hardish sort of orange ones, here's the trick. Refrigerate them, and then pull them out. And refrigerate them and freeze them, pull them out. What you're doing is recreating what's going on in nature. So they ripen. See? And then what you do is you kind of make sure they're clean because they're going to have interesting things on them. Because possum has already been there, I guarantee. The raccoon has already been there. The rabbit and the squirrel, what my grandparents called the 4 food groups. They've already been there, left their mark. So you want to clean them, right? And then after you've done that, rinse a couple of times, you're not going to get everything. You cook them a little bit, and you put them in the bottom of a, I like to use, what do you call it? Carlo Rossi wine bottles, right? And honey or sugar, whatever, just a little bit, and yeast. Shake, right? Put it in a cold, dark area. And be sure to twist it off every couple of weeks. Because I had one explode on me one time, and the dog went flying across the room. I was down, I said, I thought this was Rockville. What is this? But the funny story about persimmon beer is that it isn't a beer, it tastes like sherry, but we call it persimmon wine, persimmon beer, whatever. It's like, when I was down in Virginia doing one of my Kunta Kinte weekends, and we had a group of Confederate reenactors on the other side. I'm like, oh crap, this is not going to go well. Until I brought the persimmon beer. All of a sudden, we were good friends. I solved the Civil War with one bottle. So, but vintage Virginia apples, look them up. They're a commercial thing, but look at the varieties of apples they're growing. That's a really good way to, and they do apples and peaches. Miss Charlotte, the lady who runs the place, it's Southern when you call somebody Miss Charlotte. Mm-hmm. She is really nice, old Virginia dame. And they have pears, peaches, apples. All of those would have been grown here. Every last one of them. So if you want to do an orchard or a little bit of that'll work too. Grapes, scuppernong, your muscadine, but also Catawba grape, that works too. Okay, it's plug time, and I'm really serious about this. I really, from the bottom of my heart, It's been awesome to have everybody here. I thought there'd be 5 of y'all. We're going to sit in a circle and talk about our feelings. But I'm working on a project that is incredibly important to me. And if nothing else, I tell the young folks, your job is social media. I tell the middle-aged folks, your job is to donate. So, y'all, you know what category you fit in. So, here's the project. It's called The Cooking Gene. And my name is not Gene, my name is Michael, yes. And basically, I'm tracing my family history through food. But I'm not doing it just for me. I'm tracing our family story back to West Africa and Europe, through the South. Jacob, raise your hand. I'm putting you on the spot. Raise your hand, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Yes. He and I have been working on this since when he approves one of my ideas, then I know it's going to fly. He put me through the process. He's like my, your dissertation board, all rolled into one person. He says, explain this to me again. And this is the first time he went, okay, let's do this. So he's my abolitionist. We are going from Baltimore all the way to Louisiana and back. Going to all the plantations and counties where my ancestors were enslaved. But even more than that, we are going to be doing a number of community service projects. It used to be 30 projects, now I got my common sense back. It's down to 7 because we ain't going to be able to do 30 on the road. Colonial Williamsburg has actually hired us to do some interpretation for them, which is awesome. As you know, the history, some of these little history sites, they didn't even talk about slavery. Now they want to talk about how a particular black person, people came off a ship and came through and contributed to American foodways. We're spending, they have me in the paper say this, so I have to do it. 80% of our budget is going to African American food producers in the South, local food producers. We have a horrible economy and they need all the business and encouragement and support and advertising they can get. So this is for our elders and our children, not just us. And for our generation, we're looking in terms of bringing people together in the spirit of racial reconciliation and healing. So I've got one former slave owner down on the list, a guy in South Carolina, and he comes from 2 of the families that own my family, which is very interesting. I'm looking for more, but I'm also looking for some of our relatives that we haven't connected to in a while, people who are related to us. To teach people, contextual genealogy, which means that everybody in this room, no matter what your background is, your ancestors didn't just live in the bubble of born where, married where, died where, that's it. And that's the family tree. They live in a historical context. And I think food is the best way to teach that. So if nothing else, pull your little smartphones out. I'm serious. Pull your little smartphones out and look up Michael W. Twitty on Facebook. You'll find all the rest of the information there. I can't thank you enough. You all are great. If you need anything else, email me at Kosher Soul, email me at thecookingGene@gmail.com, and we will talk further. Thank you so much. Thank you.